Well, it's a case of first in, best dress for the federal government's first home buyers deposit scheme, which is designed to help up to 10,000 Australians a year. Let's go live now to political reporter Eliza Edwards in Canberra. Eliza, more details have now been released about how the scheme will work.
That's right, Charlotte. So the federal government has unveiled price caps for its home deposit scheme, which is designed to allow first home buyers into the property market with a deposit as little as 5%, with the government to guarantee the remainder of a standard deposit. Now, to break it down for the major cities, these price caps in Sydney, people will need a deposit of $700,000, $600,000 in Melbourne, $475,000 in Brisbane and $400,000 for Adelaide, Perth and Hobart. But there are persisting questions, Charlotte, about how this scheme will work. In particular, are these caps too low? So will people be able to find a property in Sydney for $700,000? Also, will the majority of this support be taken up in the major cities over regional areas? The Housing Minister Michael Sukkar says they'll be watching the demand very closely.
There's an element of which we will have to wait and see what the demand looks like and where. But the wonderful thing of the investment mandate that we've got in place is it can be updated quite regularly, and we'll be able to keep a good eye on what the demand looks like, how the supply is meeting that demand, and how it's operating in practice.
Now, Eliza, there's also been a pretty big week of unrest for the National Party. Senior coalition MPs, they're downplaying this division.
Yeah, exactly, Charlotte. So we saw a week from the Nats where they were really trying to get on the front foot on the drought issue by putting forward ideas and really stamping their brand on this issue. But as a result, we saw leaks to the media, MPs undermining the Deputy Leader, Bridget McKenzie, and starking all round from Nationals MPs. But Senior Nat and Resources Minister Matt Canavan says this internal debate is producing good outcomes.
Sometimes the Nats might not be pretty, but we're pretty effective, and our members are pretty effective at voicing their concerns. And the national conversation this past fortnight has been about the drought, and that's a good place for us to be in because it means it's driving an outcome, driving the conversation in a way that will help our constituents.
Now, the government's leader in the Senate, Matthias Cormann, was also the subject of some of that angst this week. The Nats are upset about his negotiations with One Nation over the dairy industry code of conduct, and that anger from his Nationals colleagues surprised even Matthias Cormann himself.
How are you getting on with the Nats at the moment, Matthias Cormann?
Good. Very good. We're a very strong, united, effective coalition.
What did you make of the criticism behind closed doors, admittedly, but from apparently Barnaby Joyce and Darren Chester about you being too cosy with One Nation? I was
a bit surprised because, in relation to the dairy issue, which apparently triggered that conversation, according to reports, One Nation did approach us in the Senate with a view that we should re-regulate the dairy industry, and we said no to that.
This infighting isn't a good look for the National Party, but given how hotly contested the drought issue is, it's unlikely to let up anytime soon. Charlotte?